Mic check 1 2. So you're probably gonna hear my kid in the background. He's watching TV. This isn't meant to be anything super informal. Um, we'll make it brighter, okay? And if you hear noise in the background and my kid, this again, this is just a video of me. Just I'm wanting to do like a bedside chat about this subject. I've been getting interviewed a lot. Well, not a lot, but like frequently, consistently. I just did an interview today. A couple weeks ago, somebody hit me up and said, "Hey, can you be on the news in 30 minutes? Can we do a Zoom? And this is going to show up on our local news. Can you be available in 30 minutes?" I'm just like, oh, I guess yes, even though I'm grossly unprepared for something like that. But, I'm just taking those shots as they come, and I'm excited. I'm just as excited as everyone else is about this subject. And I wanted to really just talk about what this is, not only my project, but the whole idea of the metaverse and digital twins. I'm building downtown Memphis in the metaverse, and I'm using Unreal Engine as well as 20 other softwares, applications to create this entire project. But Unreal Engine is the software of choice that I'll be using to bring this experience to the world. There are a lot of ideas that I've had that led me to wanting to embark on this crazy, very ambitious journey of creating a metaverse, building a digital twin, which technically those are two different things. And in some ways, they're very, very much the same. Metaverse can really apply to anything. Metaverse can just be a virtual space where people can come together and live, play, be entertain, socialize. But the digital twin and bringing a real physical location at full one-to-one scale into a digital space where you can come together and socialize is a little bit different, and there are very few people doing both. Right, so I'm building a metaverse where people can come into downtown Memphis in a video game world, right? On a console, on a computer, and they can experience everything this city has to offer in a digital way without ever leaving their house. And they can meet with their friends in VR, chat and hang out, drive through the city, walk down the sidewalk, stage houses, purchase digital real estate, and visit places that they've actually been in real life before. And that's the primary function of what a metaverse is to be able to just bring people together in a digital space. But the digital twin aspect actually brings in the physical, real life attributes of these physical locations and of physical people. Maybe at some point we will all have a physically accurate representation of our physical bodies in the digital space at photorealistic quality. And I think Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, is doing something with that, where you take a scan of your face and bring it into a VR experience, and you have this somewhat immersive, like desk face-to-face meeting with someone in the digital space. And there, there's kind of a digital twin, but it's not really a digital twin. It's a meta representation. Digital twin would take into account like the attributes of your skin and your teeth and your facial structure, your eyeball color. Your eyeballs will be separate from your, they would actually be sitting in your socket for your digital character. It's like metahumans in Unreal Engine, right? So a digital twin is a fully developed, accurate representation of you, where real hair follicles represent where your hair is on your actual head. right? The physical properties of your hands and your lips and your face and everything else um, are represented in this digital version of you. Whereas the digital likeness or the digital meta version of you might not be a full twin, right? So if you rip that character out of the Meta Quest headset or Apple headset or whatever, Mark Zuckerberg and Apple are creating for this digital experience for you to be able to talk to your friends from your couch. If you pull that character out of the headset and set them in front of you in real life, it wouldn't look like you. You'd see the inconsistencies. It'd be like, PlayStation quality version of you. But a real digital twin is meant to be photoreal, and if you were to pull him out, it would almost be hard to distinguish his likeness from like your real human self, right? So that's what differentiates the digital twin from like just a metaverse application. So this is the project that I'm working on in Unreal Engine. And right now, there's a lot of just likeness of the city and of the buildings. And I'm working individually on each building downtown. And here's an example. I don't have it fully textured. I don't have it finished, but as you can see, like I've got some materials on this building. But I've started modeling this in SketchUp, and I just took a photogrammetry 3D tile from Cesium, Google Earth, and I brought that into Unreal Engine, and then I gray boxed the buildings so that I can then take the gray boxed versions of the buildings and bring them into my modeling application of choice. So let me show you some gray box examples. If I turn the city off, I've got a few of these buildings gray boxed right now. So let me turn off some static meshes, and we're going to turn off downtown, this one, and downtown Memphis, and turn that off. These are gray boxes. All right. So basically the name speaks for itself. I've got some Boolean meshes. This is where windows will sit, and I'll Boolean these windows out of the actual building meshes. Same thing with this building, right? But these are physically accurate, scaled representations of some of the buildings in my city, right? I could drop the character in here and he or she would be at a real human-sized scale based on the scale of the city, right? So I've started gray boxing is what this is called. Turn a couple of these off as well. Gray boxing these buildings to get the most accurate representation of the building's features. Whereas some people, when they design a digital representation of a building or a city or a person, it's not a digital twin, it's just a digital representation. I'll show you an example. So if I go to, we'll see how much my computer can handle. Hopefully it can handle all of what I'm about to throw at it. Let's say I go to 3D Warehouse. And then I do a search for downtown Memphis. This person has created, or maybe multiple people have created, these buildings, if you want to call them that, these representations of buildings in SketchUp. If I go over to 3D Preview, here's the Bass Pro Shop Pyramid, or the Great American Pyramid as an example. If I go into the 3D Preview and I zoom into this, you'll see that it's obviously lacking a significant amount of information and quality, right? They just threw some textures on here, and it's some flat planes, and the closer you get to it, the more you realize it's not really an accurate representation, right, of the pyramid. All right, you can clearly see like it looks like the pyramid, but this is a digital representation. Whereas if I go to my project, well, I'll just show you another building. This is another building that I've created in 3D, but this is someone else's digital representation of it. 100 North Main, and I guess I can't zoom in. All right, so you got just some textures on top of some geometry. And that's cool. That's useful, I guess, for someone that's not trying to go up close to the building. So digital representation is just some aerial photography scanned images placed on top of flat planes. Whereas this is 100 North Main, this is the Bass Pro Shops pyramid. In my project, this is 100 North Main, and I still got some work to do on top. And you can see the detail in these windows. Like there's real physical geometry for every like nook and cranny of this building. Still a work in progress. And then of course, if I go back to the pyramid, I've got real geometry. If I go up really close to this, you can see that I'm not using PBR, like physically based rendered textures on the siding. I've actually got the whole thing modeled out as accurate as I can depict using the resources and references that I have created or, gathered. The SketchUp project, if I can, I don't even know if I have it on here. This is another example, I guess. Lansky's building, which is where the Hard Rock Cafe used to be. This is what it looks like in my SketchUp project. Now these vents, the design of these vents are a little different than what you might see in real life, but I have literally every brick in its place. Right, and that is what differentiates a digital twin from just a regular digital representation. As you can see right here, we have the taking. Why does it do this? All right, we have taking care of business, TCB, right? And that's modeled on the building, as well as the signage. My signage is a little bit different. All right, but that's like the quality of this is significantly greater than what you would typically find in video games or, in Google Earth or Google Maps, right? Because they're not creating all the geometry for windows, for the brick and the siding. All right, so if I go back to, let's say maps, just to showcase real quick, let's go to Bill Street. And then let's zoom into Bill Street and let's drop in on what's now going to be Memphis Music, which was formerly Hard Rock Cafe. All right, and my guitar is a little different. I didn't design it exactly like this because I wanted something that looked more like a guitar. I wanted something that looked a lot better than what they have, but I took the same premise. But this is that same building. If you can see, there's the TCB logo, taking care of business, from Elvis Presley. Right, Hard Rock Cafe. I haven't finished the modeling, but every brick is in its place. And, I did a little bit of brick counting and I understood the dimensions, the average dimensions of an American clay brick, right? And I did my best to just proportionately use Google Images as a reference to then go and create this version of this asset. The easier thing would be to go and find someone who owns the plans, maybe like CAD drawings of this building. And that's challenging, right? So in the meantime, I want to just go ahead and just design it myself, right? My camera is a little bit different. My camera settings for SketchUp are a little bit different than what you'll see from a uh, Google car, right? That drives around and takes photogrammetry pictures of, which is where this came from. But looking closely at the details, I was very particular about making sure that all my bricks and everything were placed in the right place. And that's what a digital twin is. So people say, what are digital twins for? What are metaverse digital twins for? And we're not just talking about a hypothetical like metaverse place that doesn't exist in real life that you can go to in VR chat and like jump off of floating buildings and hang out with your friends. No, we're talking about the metaverse digital twin of like your hometown, your city. If you walked outside of your house today and you looked around at your grass, your landscaping, the sidewalk, the streets, right? The placement of the stop sign, the street lights, how those street lights operate, and then you know how to get from your house to your closest Whole Foods or Target. That drive being in a real game like Grand Theft Auto, that's where the world is headed. Your entire neighborhood and city and state will be in a metaverse at some point, but it will, that's because the digital twin of that city is going to exist at some point. And obviously, someone's going to want to use those digital twin assets to bring that place into a video game. Real estate agents are going to start showcasing and showing houses to people using web-based 3D previews to where they can literally walk a character through the house that they want to go and book a showing at. But they will have virtual showings where real estate historically has to schedule a time and date to host a showing or do an open house. Now it's an open house indefinitely until the house is sold, whereas you can take your phone, a computer, a VR headset, a Xbox, and a TV, or even just a TV. 3D will eventually come to TV, to where you can enable these experiences on a smart TV, right? So real estate agents will then send you a channel where you can tune into that channel and stream the 3D Unreal Engine application, and then be able to walk through that house, the digital twin of that house, right? And in doing that, they now can do 1,000 showings in a day if they want to, and get that house sold faster, right? Because that house is now existing in a digital twin space, right? So applications, marketing. If you are a business, if you have a business, we know that the traditional ways of marketing are dying. Nobody wants to be advertised to. So what do we do about that? How do we combat people not wanting to be advertised to? Well, we use metaverse digital twins, and we run native advertisements that don't even look like ads, right? So for this project that I've got, I'm bringing real physical buildings. This is Memphis Escape Rooms on South Main Street. If you just Google search that, you'll see this building in Google Images, and you can do a street view and go and, zoom around, pan around, and see the accuracy of this model. Businesses will be able to buy the naming rights to the digital representation of their business, right? And that's one way that we can monetize a video game. For example, you play something like Grand Theft Auto, and there's this fictitious city with all these fictitious businesses in it, and you've got kids all over the world streaming to Twitch and YouTube, playing this game and role playing. Well, companies will be able to say, hey, we want you to put our business in the Memphis, Tennessee digital twin. How much is it going to cost for us to pay for our actual business name to be on the building associated with our business in real life? Why? Because kids are streaming this game all over the world, and driving and walking past or walking into your business could be a great way to kind of prepare the next generation of adults, currently kids, to be interested in visiting that business when they're able to go and shop there, eat there, play there, do whatever it is they're going to do, right? So, Coca-Cola, FedEx Forum, these big businesses that purchase naming rights for arenas, FedEx Forum and the Memphis Grizzlies is a prime example. FedEx probably pays, X number of millions of dollars per 3 to 5 or however many years to have their name on the building. And that gives the franchise money to be able to like expand and invest into the team, the local team, right? You'll see stages and venues that have, some major business name. Staples Center, for example. Why is it called the Staples Center? Well, the people that own the building needed money to be able to bring these experiences to their communities. So Staples said, hey, this is a great marketing opportunity. Our name is going to be on this big building where Taylor Swift and Drake and whoever else are going to perform at. And these, I don't know what team the Staples Center is. I think maybe LA, I don't know. But, let's say the Lakers come and play at this arena. Now Staples is kind of a well-known business where people are more likely to consider purchasing their office products from, because the brand awareness from their name being on this big building that millions of people are going to go into every year. So the same thing is kind of true for the digital space, where businesses can purchase naming rights over a number of years to have their business display and interactable inside of the metaverse and inside of the digital twin and video games. Outside of the digital twin, people are going to want to do simulations to see how they can, best optimize city development and tourism and transportation, like public transportation. So that being said, there are in a physical recreation of in a digital recreation of a real place, right? If you're driving past the pyramid, Bass Pro Shops isn't going to want all these kids playing this game to see some different logo on that building. They're going to want their logo on that building, right? And they're going to want to incorporate some kind of experience in this game to bring Bass Pro Shops to the forefront of the game at some point, right? So that's an opportunity. More practical, low-hanging fruit is to present your digital twin and your metaverse as a game that kids and people can experience and socialize in. Outside of that, when someone buys the Bass Pro Shop pyramid, and Ducks Unlimited and Bass Pro Shops is no longer having their business inside of the pyramid, someone's going to want to pay a significant amount of money to renovate this building so that it looks like, their brand is now inheriting it. And before they spend that money and purchase all the equipment and tools and materials needed to do that renovation, it makes more financial sense for them to visualize their changes in a digital twin on something like Unreal Engine, where they can walk around and kind of discover what's the best way to optimize the renovation. That being said, having the digital twin is just the beginning, and that's just one way to monetize, but it also opens up the door. It also opens up the door for people to be able to now make more informed decisions about how they invest into the development and the progress of a particular city, right? And that's really what this is about. It's about being able to give city officials and organizations the ability to take these assets and start doing some serious innovation in city planning. Uh, I'll turn the city buildings back on. So let's say downtown. I got a few of them that are out of place that I have to fix, and I don't know what's going on with these. I think I need to just sync my Visual Studio files. All right, so being able to plan like a new bridge build out, right? Being able to plan some development is another way to use digital twins. I'm trying to make sure I touch on a lot of the subjects. It's easier if I'm having a conversation with someone who understands like the marketing, the development. Hey Zeppelin, too loud, baby. You can jump, but don't do it with your voice, okay? Um, Tourism. How are we going to convince people to come from their state or city to ours? Hey, how are we going to convince people to visit Memphis, Tennessee? Well, we can create commercials. We can literally anything is possible once you have a digital twin. It doesn't matter if it's storming. It doesn't matter if it's, what I'm saying, if the weather isn't applicable at the moment. You can take this environment and bring it into a virtual production space and shoot commercials, however you want to represent Memphis, you're able to do. You're able to do so, at your own discretion. Okay, hey, no more jumping for a minute. Let me finish this. Okay. Thanks, buddy. So, using these assets, in virtual production is another whole nother conversation. There's a reason we don't have Marvel, like our city isn't part of the Marvel universe. Spider-Man can't swing from our buildings. We don't have a Marvel character reveal in Memphis, Tennessee, partly because obviously Memphis isn't like grand enough for it to be considered like attractive for a Marvel universe. But if the entire city was built in a digital twin, they could use these city buildings and assets to bring these assets into that type of application where, in order for Spider-Man to swing from buildings in New York has to be built digitally, right? So VFX, the 3D assets have to exist. Creating these assets for Memphis opens up the doors for us to be able to be more creative, more innovative, and more forward thinking in the production environment. It allows us to create content outside of the scope of just coming here to film basic TV shows, right? So we can have superheroes, villains, and create things that are far more attractive that bring attention to the city. I said to myself years ago that at some point we'll be able to order cars and refrigerators from our phones, and people thought I was weird and crazy. Lo and behold, there's Carvana, and you can literally order anything on the internet today, including appliances, and have them delivered to your door, right? So I was way ahead of the curve with that thought process. But being able to have everything connected is really where the world is headed. It's one thing to have a app for your BMW to be able to lock your doors and figure out where your car is through a smartphone application, or turn on and off smart lights and smart plugs to have a more efficient, electricity bill. But refrigerators are now smartphone connected, where you can like look at a camera inside of your refrigerator to see what you have in your fridge while you're at the grocery store. So you can make sure like, oh, do I have eggs? Do I have this? Do I have this? I don't want to go home to check the fridge before I go to the grocery store. Let me pull up my refrigerator app, the digital twin, and with these cameras and Internet of Things, IoT connectivity to your refrigerator, you now have these sensors that can tell you what's in your fridge. your whole house is going to be like that at some point. So it's not just smart appliances, smart TVs, smart lights. Your house will be smart. You know, you got Nest. Your thermostat is, you got smart thermostats, smart vacuums. But your house itself will be a digital twin where sensors will be put in and around the house to be able to determine if there's a leak or a possibility of one. If there's an inefficiency in your house and the ability for the house to maintain like a certain pressure for heat and airflow, um, being locking doors, smart locks are a thing already, and people are used to it. So being able to unlock your door from your phone and open your garage and unlock windows, right? So having your house as a digital twin is another part of this whole metaverse thing where you can bring your house into the metaverse, the real house. And when you buy a house in real life or get one built, you get the digital twin created as well. You mint that house as an NFT. And then when you buy your house, you mint that NFT. And if your house gains value, it's assuming it's a nice house, your NFT gains value. And when you sell the house, you can also sell the NFT because the digital representation of your house now exists in the digital twin and in the metaverse. And in the metaverse, people can visit your house and sit on your couch and talk to you and look at your art on the wall. And your NFTs that you've purchased can now be displayed in this virtual house that you have in the metaverse. If your house becomes a popular hangout spot in the metaverse, it'll gain more value in real life because people can say, I hang out at that house all the time. I know all about it. With that comes security risks, where if someone wants to break into your house, obviously you might not want to have everything in your house available for access in the metaverse. You can have a digital twin version, but the metaverse can be a little bit different. So, you're keeping people from gaining access to your personal space and mapping out a plan to like a floor plan to be able to now go and break into your house and steal your valuables, right? So security risks come with bringing the world into a digital twin because, there are banks that you don't want to share in the digital space. You don't want people to know how thick the stop Zeppelin. Stop. Okay. Until I'm done. You don't want people to be able to jump into the metaverse, extract the 3D data of a bank per se, and then be able to determine here's the thickness of these walls, here's what these walls are made out of, here's a easy path for us to be able to dig under the ground and rob this bank, right? Here are the security risks, and here's how we overcome the vulnerabilities, right? So those are the more pressing factors of bringing the world into the metaverse and digital twins. But stop, I said. There's a lot of silver lining with being able to utilize these digital twin assets to be able to better plan, manage, and maintain buildings, for example, historical features, right? So you've got these historical districts. South Main is a historical district. Bill Street is a historical entertainment district. And there are stipulations for how new businesses can or cannot create, renovations around the historic facade or interiors of these buildings. Having a digital twin can make it easier to plan for moving into the future as some of these building, what would I call it? Like methodologies, these building techniques become outdated as we innovate a city, right? So how do we maintain and get behind walls that we can't easily access? You don't do it in real life. You do it in the digital twin, and you simulate those changes first to see if they will withstand, the city environment, the foot traffic, the the max capacity, right? You simulate all of those things to kind of determine what your rules in real life are going to be, right? So you've got a historic building, you bring that into a digital twin, you stress test floors, you put a certain number of people in there and to test the fire capacity. That, and outside of just using your traditional measurements, um, you can more effectively do road planning and construction planning by doing it digitally first. So, I'm not going to continue like down that path of just talking about real estate, but this really applies to anything and everything as it relates to like real life. And I would love to have more conversations about it. I wanted to go live just to showcase what I'm working on, start the conversation on my channel, bring these real assets, and show you what my process has been like to create these assets and bring them into the engine. I've got a real guitar here. I created a mid poly version of a Hard Rock Cafe logo. I brought this into the engine. If I go over to, let's say, Bill Street, I've started, I'll turn off my downtown Memphis assets. I've started basically kit bashing and gray boxing the city and some of these buildings. So I think I showed this already, but being able to present new ideas to a community before you invest any money into them and before you bring investors into a big development, showing the development and the creative direction of the project to your community before ever breaking ground is also a great way to like get approval and build up the excitement, or gain feedback about a particular development, right? And with that feedback, you can then create excitement for investors to say, wow, people are really interested in this. I'm going to throw money at that project. There are some things that people are concerned about and they've voiced their opinion. They want this to be this way and these roads to not be cut off and this road to be wider and this building to not have, only access to, adult related things. But, maybe there are 15-year-olds who want to experience this thing, and it's more 15-year-olds who said they're interested than there are 18 plus. So maybe instead of turning this into a photo museum, like a selfie museum with a bar and making it 18 plus, let's do the photo selfie museum and do mocktails, because 15, 16-year-olds are gaining popularity on social media and streaming on YouTube and Twitch, and they want to have a place where they can do photo ops and create their portfolios for acting and for this and for that, right? So being able to present something in a digital twin first and in a video game allows for these older people who are decision makers and money spenders to realize that their ideas and what they feel like is worth investing in is only like a minimal amount of consideration, for a project. You've got all kinds of people that will or won't be interested in something, and the best way to kind of gauge that with before ever investing and wasting money is to create it digitally first and see what people's feedback and how people are going to experience it in a digital space, right? So simulation is one thing, to be able to simulate foot traffic or city traffic. But if you create a digital version of your building and you get thousands of teens and young adults or adults to go into a live server and navigate through that building, you're able to create these hot maps to determine where people are going to walk through spaces, what their attention is going to be put towards immediately, and how to optimize the space for a user's experience or a group's experience, right? So you got 5 people in a VR headset and they go into a building in the metaverse that you've planned to develop for a city, in a city. And then the first thing they do is they go to, the room on the right when they walk in, because it has some I some visual feature, right? But your project was designed for them to bypass that, and that was supposed to be like an office or a front desk or a reception area. Now, the owners of that property can say, hey, in the video game, everybody walked into this space first, and based on their conversations in their group chats and in the gameplay, they wanted to be able to have a space to lounge and look out of this window, right? So with how people interact in the video game version, you might gain some insight that you never would have prior if you didn't release this as a digital property. So, we're getting into digital real estate and data. This isn't about metaverse and video games and VR. It isn't as much about those things as it is about the data that comes from people's interaction with those digital properties, with that digital real estate. Digital real estate is not just a digital representation of a building like this. Digital real estate is also the digital data that comes from people's movements and decisions around that digital asset. And that's what investors are paying for, investing into, is the information. It's not about the building or the bricks or how heavy the brick is, how big the brick is, how nice the building looks, how far the walls are apart. It's about what are customers, patrons, communities, groups of people, individuals doing in this space, right? How do we get them to spend more time here? How do we get them to spend more money? How do we get them interested in coming here in the first place? When they get here, how easy is it for them to navigate through the space? How easy is it for them to find parking? Right? How easy is it for them to spend money or experience the thing we want them to experience? What are the roadblocks? What are the limitations? Right? And you have this digital representation of characters who have to eat and have to urinate and have to sleep, who like The Sims, but more photoreal, more realistic, to say we've got digital twins of human beings in this VR space navigating through a real city. And if we bring them into our building or our city, where are they going to drive? Where are they going to walk? When they get hungry, how easy is it for them to access food? When they get tired, how easy is it for them to find seating indoors and outdoors? Where is the most optimal bench placement or bus stop or trolley stop placement? All of those things can be figured out in simulation when you have thousands of people walking around in your city in this digital space. Not only are we supposed to build these spaces to gauge how to best accommodate for people who are currently living in these communities today, but we need to optimize based on future generations of kids who are going to grow up to live in these spaces, to rent these houses, to work in these businesses, to commute through these cities. And they're the ones playing video games who can give us insight on what their interests might be. Right? So if you have real businesses in this metaverse and you have teenagers, kids driving around in this metaverse, and 90% of the kids go to a public park and they attempt to play basketball because they see a basketball goal, that tells investors to put more money, time, and energy into building, maintaining that public park. If it doesn't exist in real life, that tells, and you put a public park in the game and people simulate their lives around that public park and they never visit the park, that tells you it might not be a good idea to put a public park there. Let's do a skate park, right? And then more skaters who are interacting with this digital space might say, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. And people will spend a lot of time there in the game, hypothetically speaking. All right, there are more practical examples, but I'm speaking from my experience. If you put a shooting range somewhere and you notice a lot of people are gaining interest in taking advantage of that, right? Though all those questions can be answered through gameplay. And that's where the value of this like comes from. So this project is super interesting. I've got a lot of work to do to it. And I'm actually physically building all of these buildings from scratch. I'm far from done, and I've got a lot of photogrammetry references. This is going to be FedEx Forum. Bands and artists who perform and celebrities, and basketball teams, franchises, they might want to do something like a virtual concert, a virtual NBA game. Grizzlies and the FedEx Forum might have a $1,200 floor seat. If they take that $1,200 floor seat, shut it off from purchasability, put a 360 camera in that space, and use some like tracking technology on the jerseys of the basketball players to be able to track their movements during gameplay, or some LiDAR sensors to track the players' movements during gameplay, as well as using AI, they can sell that one floor seat to VR users for $250, $150, and sell hundreds of those seats and make 10 times what they would make from that one sale if they can get, and people will probably buy it for $25 days after the game has commenced, right? To say, I want to watch that experience in VR. But with modern technology being able to track basketball player movement on the court, not only can you have a VR 360 experience to be able to sit floor side and watch a game happen either live or pre-recorded, but you can bring that experience into a engine, like you're in NBA 2K in VR or NBA 2K on your console, but you're watching actual players, digital twin human selves, human representations, play that exact game in a digital format where you can pause, get up out of your floor seat, walk around the court, and get a different angle of John Morant, LeBron James dunking a ball. And then you can unpause it, and then you can see him from different angles in a photoreal recreation of the forum. Now, people will go back and buy tickets to games that happened years ago because they want to experience it in the metaverse. Now the NBA is making, and the forum and whoever else, they're making 10 times the money off games that have already happened, right? And selling tickets that have already sold out for games that have already happened so that people can experience those games at a later date in this virtual experience. I can't make it to LA, but I really want to see this Grizzlies game or this Lakers game. I heard that X game was so crazy, but I don't want to just watch a replay of highlights of videos. I want to buy the VR floor seat, which is now, $150. And I own that VR floor seat experience forever. But I also want to be upsold and buy the VR like augmented experience in the digital twin, right? And that requires you to have this asset. If you don't have downtown Memphis, the game or the digital twin application, you can't walk through the FedEx Forum and see that gameplay happening, right? And that's kind of where this all comes from. Is let me turn off my gray boxing. You can't walk through the FedEx Forum if you don't have the FedEx Forum as a digital twin, and that's really what this is about. I'm thinking so broadly, and it's insane and it's crazy. So, and people say I'm like, how can you pull this off by yourself? I can't, but I think I've pulled off enough to be able to get featured on the news, to have someone else who I don't know say, hey, can I interview you? I just did an interview today for 15 minutes, and I'm going to go back and watch more of their channel. But I've created enough to get the buzz out there about the project I'm building, but people still can't wrap their heads around the significance of how this is going to apply to commerce and consumerism in the future. So you have concerts. Travis Scott did a concert in Fortnite, and it was an incredible experience. If you were there live, it's still an incredible experience if you go to YouTube and search Travis Scott Fortnite concert, where people are trying to recreate that experience in Fortnite. Like modders are trying to remake that game. You want to create opportunities for artists now. Here you go. You want to create opportunities for artists and celebrities and athletes to be able to now sell tickets to virtual shows, and then you want to be able to go and experience that virtual show again, right? So it's one thing to go to a Taylor Swift concert in real life. It's another thing to not have access to the Taylor Swift concert because you have to work or you just had a kid. So you go buy a VR headset. Now you have access to every concert that happens, because the performance that Taylor Swift did in the real show got photo captured and LiDAR scanned, and they recreated the performance in Unreal Engine. And now you can watch the Taylor Swift concert amongst thousands of people, some of which are NPCs, and be able to experience the concert in the metaverse in a VR headset. And in immersive, and you can rewind and play it back and sit in a different seat and have floor seats, right? And hear the concert from different positions in the house or in the space, the house, in the stadium or forum. And you pay for one ticket. Now you have unlimited access to any seat in there, because, and you can listen when you want. You can take out the screaming fans, right? And there's no limit. You can walk on the stage. You can watch Taylor Swift perform and walk around her and interact with her, right? So it's so many applications that people who are vested in these industries are going to want to be a part of. One of the other concerns is digital likeness and copyright. Taylor Swift should be able to own her likeness, right? And she should be able to perform anywhere in the world as well as physically, but she should be able to go and have a concert worldwide, internationally, and people should be able to pay a discounted price to be able to attend that concert live without leaving their couch, because they have a 2-year-old and they can't leave their house, right? But they can watch Taylor Swift perform live in a VR headset and maybe not be able to pause it, but be able to go back to that experience as a pre-recorded 3D real-time like rendering and watch that concert again when it's more convenient, when they don't have a crying baby in the background or when they have vacation time. And people will pay for that experience. Whereas when she performs live, she has a limited quantity of tickets that she can sell of 200,000 to fill up the the event space, but that live performance is also streamed and pre-recorded to where people can now pay $50 to access the performance in the VR space, and you'll have over 10-year period, people will still be paying for that experience. Oh, there was there was a 2010 Taylor Swift performance that got recorded in VR, and I want to watch it. And 2010 is way gone, right? But if that technology was there, Taylor Swift could make how $50 million if a million people over 10 years buy that VR performance, because VR becomes like the norm and everybody now has a VR headset. A million people might say, I want to watch every single Taylor Swift concert that has ever been recorded in this, and I'm willing to pay a premium price to access those. Or this month I'll pay for these two concerts, next month I'll pay for this concert, or I'll pay a streaming fee like you would Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube Premium, to access every single concert she has until I cancel my payments. I'll pay X amount of dollars per month. That gives me access to all her performances. And every time I get a chance, every day I'm going to watch a Taylor Swift performance. Not just because I'm a fan, but because I'm studying her performance or I'm studying the choreography. And that leads me into other things with that digital twin. You can extract the choreography from a performance and study it and duplicate it and creative direct it. And, going off on a tangent, but if you don't understand the massive amount of opportunities that are in this space and where the world is headed, then you are going to get left behind. And I don't plan on being left behind. I think I should have made this mono, and I apologize if that was an opportunity and I missed that opportunity. Let's see, desktop audio, mic auxiliary. Let's see, audio input capture. It looks like it's balanced to the left. And I don't think mono. Mic check 1 2. So I apologize about that. Now I have it. So maybe this will make it a little bit better. But I'm gonna pretty much end on that note. Give my kid some attention tonight and play with him. I want to answer questions. I would love to be involved in any of your interviews, podcasts, anything that you guys got, because I really need to get this project out there and I want to get it funded. I've worked very diligently on this. There's a lot that needs to be done. I've got a lot of issues that I'm working out, and I need to build a team around this project. But there's a lot of opportunity here, and there's a lot of knowledge that a lot of people need in order to really understand where the world is headed and how to be involved. Traditional marketing is a thing of the past, where we're talking about building a website, paying for ads. I mean, it's relevant still, but there's going to come a time where marketing is fully integrated with the metaverse and digital spaces. And I plan on leading that conversation in a productive way that can be super helpful for anybody, especially business owners and marketing agencies, so that you can understand that, we're moving into voice and artificial intelligence. Hey, Zeppy, I'm almost done, okay? We're moving into voice artificial intelligence and a lot of different marketing methods. But this is the future, and this is where a lot of people's attention needs to be focused. If I can do any consulting with you to help you break into this space or plan for it. Hey, Zeppy, quiet for just 2 more minutes, all right? I'm building out a roadmap that will help, that I think will be useful for you to understand what the metaverse is for, what the capabilities are, and what the possibilities are, how you can monetize in different ways. There are at least 50 different ways to monetize a metaverse and digital twin application. And it's not just about video games. I want to create like a Bible for this project, and I've got a roadmap that I'm working on. Oh man, he has the most adorable laugh. I'm creating this roadmap that helps me understand the methodology behind the most effective development prioritization, like to prioritize roads and grass and foliage and buildings, like what to focus on to bring this project to market faster. So if you guys are interested in more conversations around this, I will be happy to do more live streams where it's not just bedside, my bad, talks with my kid in the background. I'll do more serious content, but I just need to know that you guys are interested enough in the information for me to also spend my time creating serious content about this. Thanks for watching. Questions, anything that you have, I'm on Instagram. Hey, Zeppy, 1 minute. Quiet for 1 minute. I'm on Instagram as 901 Corey Owens. That's 901 CORYOWENS. And I'm talking about this project on Reddit, on my subreddit, which is Memphis Metaverse. r/Memphis Metaverse. All right, I have a couple of more, but that's the primary one I'm focused on right now. And if you want to connect with me, do so on Instagram and join my subreddit. I look forward to seeing you there, and I look forward to sharing more information about this and helping you guys get started on building your city's digital twin. Peace.